One trade, broker of our choice, simple FX, crypto and Forex at your fingertips. $40,000 as of right now. As of right now, we are up 40 grand. You could have been in the game with us. If you're not part of the crypto crew, I don't know what you're waiting for. I'm going to take you over right now before we even begin this video. In this video, we're going to be covering a lot of different topics. We're going to talk about the Bitcoin Wyckoff roadmap, why Q3 could be the capitulation quarter, what the starter of Ethereum is warning and what it really means, historical lessons from the dot-com bubbles of the 90s, and why the Clarity Act could reshape crypto forever. But before we do that, let's start with our open. So welcome back, crypto crew. It is your boy Tom here, bringing you the hottest in Bitcoin and crypto action. If you like what you see, if you have joined in our trade and are making serious cash right now, make sure you give us a like. Even if you didn't, you should give us a like. And make sure you hit subscribe. If you have not already, please tell all your friends about us. We're trying to get up to 1 million followers. Got a little ways to go right now, but come on, tell all your friends about us and make sure that you come on over to X and follow us on X, where we talk about Bitcoin, crypto all day, every day, because we're crypto maniacs. And the information we give you is like an adrenaline shot with steroids. And you always leave with a triple shot cappuccino. And listen, thanks for following. This is a no nonsense Bitcoin, crypto, stock, commodity channel. Welcome aboard. And let's get right into it. Let me take you over to the broker of our choice, Simple FX, where you got Forex and crypto at your fingertips. As always, look at this right now. This was at 66,000. We're at 65,000 right now. We are short at 80,986. Market has coming down and following our roadmap. Link in the description for this broker. Excellent broker, low fees, fast execution. I mean, the market is completely following exactly what we thought. Frank's $74,000 level, absolutely spectacular. That was another place to get in. It's another place to get in. You know, if you missed the 80, you could have got in at 74 or about 74. And right now the market's trading at 65,000. $847. We gave you this roadmap before. We said, look at this. We were trading below the 200 EMA. Here was a previous marketplace that actually was trading below the 200 EMA. I told you the story. Paul Tudor Jones once said, if you want a master's degree in finance, remember one thing. If you're below the 200 EMA, sell. If you're above it, go long. Man, has that worked out. Of course, there's a lot of to and fro by that average, and it is a daily average. Okay, you don't look at the 4-hour 200 and go, oh, I'm going to make major trading decisions off of it. Okay, what you do when you're trading short term is you can't make a small picture trade like a 4-hour turn into a big picture trade like a week. All right, so you got to keep all your time perspectives in place. You know, it was interesting. I want to just bring this up. All right, I want to talk about this. It's not so much about making money in trading. Okay, this is something you got to try to digest. It's really about keeping score. That's all it's about. You know, basically, when you're at a home trader like ourselves, we're keeping score. We're trying to see how and when we can beat the major players. And in this market right now, we are smacking them in the face and kicking them in the fanny. I mean, we're holding them by the nose and we're giving them a swift kick in the arse. So thank goodness for that. Make sure you get into our free pro group. All right, let's get into what's going on right now, because most traders, you know, if you're staring at the 1-hour chart or the 15-minute chart or, you know, the 4-hour chart, you're watching every candle, you're obsessed over every little move. But the bigger picture was telling a completely different story, and we tried to bring you that. So Bitcoin appears to be following a textbook Wyckoff cycle that has been building for nearly 4 years, okay? And if that interpretation is correct, which we are seeing it play out right now, we may be approaching the final phase before the next major movement, okay? And at the same time, crypto's facing basically an identity crisis. We've seen it before in the past. We're going to talk about that. It's really important to understand what happened in the past so we can basically try to understand how we can handle what's happening right now and in the future. So we got Valerik Buterin, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the inventor of Ethereum. He just put out a warning, and he warned that crypto dies fast if it becomes nothing more than gambling. Now you see that a lot with a lot of meme coins, and we're going to get into all that. So if you look at what happened over the last year, you had pump fun, you had meme coin casinos, you had perpetual futures trading on everything imaginable. It's hard to argue really that he's wrong. Okay. Meanwhile, Washington is preparing to do something that could change the entire industry. And today we're going to be breaking that all down for you. Like I said, we don't just talk about nonsense. We really get our hands dirty and get deep into economics and actual technicals. All right, so let's talk about really what we were saying, like the Wyckoff cycle, for instance. I just mentioned that. Let me pull up that chart for you. You could see exactly what I'm talking about. But before we do that, let me fix it. Like I said, traders are notorious for this. We have about 35,000 in profits right now, not 40. I was close. But I'm off by 5. And let me just fix this because I don't want to have people screaming, that's not 40K. You're right. It's not. I just fixed it. 35K in profits right now. I'm anticipating 63,000. All right, so let's move on over to that Wyckoff chart and let's talk about that. But I did get your attention, right? Which is the most important thing for videos. So if you stuck through, instead of just leaving a comment that your math is off, you see that I just fixed that. Okay, hang on one second. Here's the Wyckoff structure that we're talking about. So because a lot of traders just focused on what's happening right now, they're not looking at the overall playing field, right? So Bitcoin appears to be moving to a textbook Wyckoff cycle. 2022 to 2023 was the accumulation phase, okay? Back in here, 2022, here was the accumulation, all right? Now, since smart money accumulated Bitcoin roughly between 15,000 and 30,000, while retail was convinced that, or they really weren't paying attention to crypto at all. They thought that it was dead after the FTX thing. They went, oh, this whole thing's going to fall apart. Then came 2024. Bitcoin re-entered accumulation once more, roughly between 60 and 70,000, and then the market just froze. Weak hands sold out, strong hands basically absorbed the supply. Then Bitcoin exploded higher by reaching 120,000 to the 126,000 area back in 2025. And that's where the distribution appears to have taken place. We had public enthusiasm returned up at the highs. Always, 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 always. Everyone became bullish. I'm not gonna say I wasn't bullish. I thought we were gonna get a pullback primarily to about 90,000. I thought that was a deep pullback. Once we broke 90, I knew we were in trouble. I really didn't think we're gonna go below 78, which was the ultimate line in the sand I had in previous videos. I'm not just, talking BS. I'm not. It's not bullocks. I said it. Once the market broke it, I knew that Bitcoin was in a bit of a pickle, and we came down to 60 and then recovered a little bit, and then we took our trade basically off of, the 200 EMA. Now, Merlin put out a video on a Saturday, last Saturday, 4 days ago. I suggest you check it out because he actually talks about like why we did this. So 2026 appears to be redistribution phase roughly between 66 and 83,000. Now, the Wyckoff cycle does not care about your time frame. It doesn't care about your emotions. It doesn't care about X narratives. It simply plays out. And if this interpretation is correct, the market may still need one more deeper flush before the next major accumulation phase begins. Now, I discussed in yesterday's video that just because the Clarity Act, all these things are, getting formed, and looks like Trump wants to sign something by July 4th, celebration of the United States 250th birthday. Even if it happens, technicals are going to play out before the fundamentals, the river of the fundamentals kicks in, because there's still going to be uncertainty. Now, we talked about the major coins. Now, I'm sorry, major banks that want to get involved. I know it's Jamie Dimon, but what you don't understand is that the Wall Street nickname for him is Diamond Jim. Jamie Dimon. So Diamond Jim was an old trader back in the 1920s. Wall Street gives him the nickname Diamond Jim. Now I know its name is Jamie Dimon. I saw the, I'm like, dudes, get in with the lingo of the street, man. Come on. All right, let's talk about Bitcoin as far as Q3 being the capitulation quarter. Let me pull up that chart for you. I'll show you that right now. Before I show you that, I just want to go back to the bull trap setup. That I love this chart, man. It just played out so well. It played out so well. It's unbelievable. But this is going to be the thumbnail for our day today. As you can see, it looks eerily similar to this. This is exactly what we're looking for. One more flush down, potentially to the mid 50s. Now, whether we get it or not, we don't know, obviously. But we are on our toes right now. We are not going to let a loser, a winning trade like this, turn into a loser. We're not going to allow it to happen. Okay. So we're being very vigilant. Make sure you get into our free pro group. I'll show you how to do that in a moment because we're going to be talking about this and like 45 other different assets. So, as it stands right now, we're in the money, about 35,000. So let's go over to Q3 where we say Bitcoin's capitulation quarter could be happening. If we're comparing a sequence of times, we're looking at Q3 in 2023. Bitcoin dipped below major support around 25,000. Everyone panicked. Then Bitcoin rallied up, way up, above 44,000. If we look at Q3 2024, it dips below 52, right there, making that spike, and then actually rallies. Actually, when it dipped below here, the fear returned. Everybody started puking positions. Marketplace then re-rallied, and Bitcoin rallied towards 100,000 at that time. Now, here we are, Q3 2026. The major support level sits at 60,000. If history repeats, the flush happens first. Back down into here, potentially even dipping down into the 56, just like it did here with this wick coming through and then readjusting, closing above it. That's always a sign of, a closing price reversal, right? Especially since this is a weekly chart. When you have a wick on a week that comes back down and then reverses back up, you got potentially what's known as a closing price reversal trade, basically saying this was all stop loss running and this was all the big players getting everybody to puke. Now, there was one more return right to the support before it took off. So that could happen here. We could get a wick down, marketplace re-rallies up to like 72, comes back down, retouches this. That would be the area that you got to say all systems are go to get long if it does not dip lower and close lower. That's the most important part. So the rally will always start after the major flush. Now, that doesn't mean it needs to happen. Like I said, we're going to be paying attention to everything. But this pattern is definitely worth respecting because markets have a habit of inflicting maximum pain before rewarding patient investors. All right, so let's get on to, let's talk about what the creator of Bitcoin said, of Ethereum said. Let's talk about what Valitek said. I can't pronounce that guy's name. I got to like Google. How do you say this dude's name? I don't even really know where he's from, but I would have to think maybe Norway? Maybe? I don't know. All right, so let's get over to what he said on X. So the creator of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, warns crypto dies fast if it stays about gambling with no real world use. Okay, so this is quite interesting. And he's absolutely right, okay, because he's describing exactly if you are an old trader above, say, 45 years old, okay, you can remember the dot-com bubble. But if we look at trends that dominate attention, you had pump fund, you had meme coin launches, you got celebrity tokens of this day, perpetual futures on virtual everything. The industry spent years building revolutionary technology, yet most of the public conversation became focused on speculation. It isn't new. History has seen this movie before. So if I take you back to the 1920s with the stock market bubble, okay, at that time, I believe it was J.P. Morgan who said that While he was getting his shoes shined, the shoe shine boys were talking about stocks, and that's when he knew the top was in. It might have been J.P. Morgan, or it may have even been Jesse Livermore. It might have been Jesse Livermore. I don't think it was Morgan. I think J.P. Morgan would get his shoes shined in his office. He wouldn't be in, Grand Central Station getting his shoes shined. But it was probably, let's go with Jesse Livermore. But anyway, taxi drivers gave stock tips. People borrowed money to buy stocks. Valuations became disconnected from reality. Then confidence cracked. And the U.S. stock market lost almost 90% from peak to trough. The companies with real businesses survived. The speculative excess did not. Now, excuse me, if we go back even further into the 1840s, one of the greatest bubbles in history, railroads, which were a genuine technological revolution, the technology was real, the future was real, but investors financed far more projects than they could ever earn a return on. Hundreds of railroad companies were created. Most of them failed. Now, the railroads transformed society back then. This may be actually the best long-term crypto analogy. Blockchain equals the railroads. Many tokens equal many failed railroad stocks. The infrastructure is going to win. The speculation gets wiped out. So be prepared. Now, as early as the 1990s, I know there's some traders here that watch this channel that were very much involved in the dot-com bubble. In the dot-com bubble, that lesson was the internet wasn't a fraud, but the speculation was. Back in the late 1990s, investors poured money into anything with .com attached to the name. Companies with little revenue, no profits, reached massive valuations. Everyone wanted in. Everyone wanted quick gains. Then reality arrived. The NASDAQ collapsed nearly 80%. Thousands of internet companies disappeared, but something important happened. The internet survived. In fact, it changed the world. The speculation died, the technology won. That's the lesson for crypto. Blockchain technology can absolutely transform finance, and it's going to. But speculative excess eventually gets washed out. The projects creating real value survive. Canton, Ethereum. But projects built entirely on hype don't. So you got to really look at your portfolio. So let's get into short-term Bitcoin. And actually, before I leave on this, okay, if Bitcoin and Ethereum stablecoins, tokenized asset payments, and settlement rails disappear tomorrow, you got to ask the question, who would miss them? The U.S. government would miss them. Because that's the next bailout, stablecoins. We discussed this. So if Bitcoin, Ethereum, stablecoins disappear tomorrow, who would actually miss them? It's going to be the government, and of course, other people that are using this as payment rail systems, like what's happening with Canton right now, where we're talking about Canton doesn't care about retail, it cares about Wall Street. Wall Street's using Canton, and they're generating fees. So it's happening. It's happening quietly in the background. So really, the internet wasn't a fraud. The valuations were. Blockchain isn't the question. The speculation is. This is exactly what the creator of Ethereum is talking about. All right, let's get into the short-term Bitcoin and Ethereum. But before we do that, let me show you how to get into our free pro group. Link in the description of every one of our videos. You click this link right there, you'll be taken over to our free trading group. Again, you can't beat the price. It's absolutely free. Right now, we are making more money than any Starbucks barista. And we've done it in a short amount of time. You know, all praise and glory go to the technical analysis that we did. That's for sure. What else? Well, if you want to join us on our broker of choice, right here, Simple FX, low fees, fast execution. You click that link right there. You'll be taken over. You can open up an account and follow us step by step. All right, let's get into the short-term Bitcoin because we're going a little bit long today, but we had a lot to say. All right, Bitcoin short-term 4-hour chart. Every one of the levels I gave you That broke. I said we were going to the next level. We broke. Now look at this. On this 4 hour, we actually came back up, gave one potential entry really tight at 68,000. Market now is trading at 66,000 right now. 65,976. We broke through the lower tine. I now have to readjust this bloody thing back down to this level right there. Market actually could come down to and find support right around 64,500. That's what we're seeing. Okay, so and if I was trading this, if I wasn't short, weren't in the money, I would say, okay, do I really want to participate now? No, I wouldn't want to participate now. I mean, in other words, at 65. I'd actually like to see a return back up towards the 68. Now, 68,000 is the next level of resistance. It's also basically a pinpoint. So the market was to do something like this. All right, we're coming back off these lows here. We're coming up and we pop up through 68. Let's say we go to let's say we go to 68.9. We come back down again. What I want to see, if I want to be bullish on this thing, is I want to see basically a potential higher low with the movement back up over the 68 again. Then we could start to say Bitcoin is now reconsolidating, looking to get stronger to basically come back up to 70. So 68,000 is the level of resistance right now. Support sits at 64,000. We're only 1,900 bucks away from that. So really, if you didn't join us in the short, when we said we were going short, and there was plenty of opportunity to do so, it's not time to sell 65s right now. You know, you can't chase a marketplace, right? All right, let's move on over to good old Ethereum. Ethereum fell out of the last tine. Actually, if I could put another tine on here just by extending it out, we're still below it. Good old Tom gave you support at 1,800. Market fell down to, well, it came down to what? 1,809. All right, so that's the next level of support. In order for Ethereum to actually recover, it's still, I mean, it's got to get above, the 2,000 now, and then it's got to get above, like I said, 2,150. So Ethereum is considering, it's actually still very weak right now because Bitcoin's weak. And Ethereum is the little brother, so it's actually following it. And, really, if you look at it, it hasn't dropped percentage-wise as much as Bitcoin has. So it's actually showing a bit of strength. All right, so let's get on over to good old Bitcoin dominance. All right, Bitcoin dominance cooling. Why? Because Bitcoin's cooling. This is not, and as I said in yesterday's video, throw out all the old rules about alt season. Forget about it. Just forget about it, all right? You need to find good utility coins. You need to find good coins that are going to be part of the settlement rails, all right? Now, remember, the Clarity Act, this is why the next story matters so much. Now, actually, we put a post about that. So what Bitcoin dominance is showing right now is nada. Just pay attention to what's going on in Bitcoin and Ethereum. You could trade that. You don't need to. There's no magical coins out there to make you millions of dollars. Let's finish up with the post that we have on X about the Clarity Act. And this is why, we're getting, up for Web Creator 3. I mean, we do this stuff. So the Clarity Act just cleared one of the biggest hurdles. So as of June 1st, the Crypto Market Structure Bill officially sits on the Senate legislative calendar as number 423. It's a good number, 423. That's 9. That's a good number. That means it's out of committee. Negotiations have largely been completed. Why I say 423 is not, I mean, if you think of Tesla, I'm talking about the scientist Tesla. He was always he said, markets change on 9. So it's quite interesting that number adds to 9, in my opinion. I don't know. It's a little weird, but I like to look at 9s. Actually, we also said Bitcoin turns on 9, right? 9 red candles. So negotiations have largely been completed. The bill is now eligible for full Senate floor vote. It may sound boring, but it's not. This is potentially one of the most important pieces of crypto legislation in U.S. history, because institutions don't deploy trillions of dollars into uncertainty. They deploy capital into regulated frameworks. So the more legal clarity that exists, the easier it becomes for banks, asset managers, corporations, and pension funds to participate in the crypto market. And where do you think they're going to go? They're going to go into Bitcoin first as a reserve. Then they're going to use Ethereum because it's a settlement layer. Then they're going to look at everything else and say, what can I buy? That's on the cheap. Canton. I'm not telling you to buy it. I'm just putting it on your radar. All right. So with that being said, the short-term picture remains basically uncertain. You know, we got the $64,000 level that, you know, is main line in the sand. Bitcoin may still need a final flush. Q3 could be the capitulation quarter, but traders obsess over every candle. The big story continues to develop. That's why I say get into our free pro group. All right, so what do you got to do? Well, you got to come on over to X. Follow us on X. What else you got to do? Well, you got to trade with your head and not over it. What else you got to do? You got to do your own research. As you know, I'm a trader just like you. I do not offer any financial advice, including buying Canton. I'm not telling you to do it. Okay. What else you got to do? Well, you got to trade with your head and not over it. And what else you got to do? Well, if you're a 4-hour chart trader or a 1-hour chart trader or a 10-minute chart trader, you got to enjoy the party, but dance near the door. I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.